What's good, people? It's your boy Uncle Fred back in the house. Told you guys it'd be a little difficult when I'm back to work. Went back to work Monday and don't get off till about midnight, and so I got to put videos together. So I got just a couple of things. I said I was gonna try to come with a couple of videos. And I know I'm not gonna have no engagement tonight because everybody's in the bed that would watch my videos. So I'm just gonna drop this one and y'all watch it tomorrow. But basically, we just want to talk about kind of review some of the things that's going on in the NFL. The past couple of weeks, a lot of moving and shaking, a lot of rumbling and stuff going on in the NFL with a lot of teams that are they're making changes, they're making waves, they're getting ready for the next season. They're doing whatever they can to grab that elusive prize. That is everybody except one team. Everybody seems to be making changes, making some sort of alterations, some sort of preparations, uh, except us. Are we proactive or are we reactive? We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the coaching moves and stuff that's gone on, and the coaching hires that have been made, the ones that still need to be made, how those things affect us with the Cowboys. And also, we're going to talk about the Brian brought us a noted former scout for the Cowboys, worked for the Cowboys up until 2019, real close relationship with the Cowboys. He went off on the Cowboys on 105.3 The Fan. I'm going to give you a little excerpt of some of the things he said, and he went off. And then I'm going to also play for you an excerpt from Nick Saban talking about personnel groupings and how you match that sort of stuff and how that stuff is essential if you want success on the football field. And how that ties to the Cowboys as well. That and a whole lot more. Hang with your boy, Uncle Fred's Rants, midweek. We're going to talk about it.
Two times on the beat.
Once again, welcome to the Uncle Fred's Rants. I am your boy, Uncle Fred. It's Thursday. Actually, it's early Friday morning now. Just going to talk about a couple things. As I said before, a lot of moving and shaking going on. Go and hit that like, comment, subscribe. When you watch the video, hit the notification bell. Once you've subscribed, and that lets you know when I go live. I usually, while I'm working, that's probably a go live maybe twice a week, maybe. And then on Saturdays, while the football season is still going on, we only got like two engagements left, and we do our Saturday pick'em show. Me and TK, man, and we love the engagement that we got last Saturday. More viewership than we've ever had. We had some back and forth, people joining in with us on the chat and having some conversations with us, man. And that was just priceless, man. And I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I look forward to doing more of that with you guys. But anyway, yeah, hit that like, that comment, subscribe, share that with other people as we try to move our way up to that 1K where we can get monetized. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, but anyway, let's go to my tabs here. So we know that every team's got a goal, right? And I think every team is supposed to be trying to win the Super Bowl, but we know every team that's not the goal. Some of the teams' goals is not to win it all. Some of them is just to be competitive. Some is just to make money. I think one show I was watching the other day, it may have been A to Z. He was saying that back in the day, the Bidwells, who I think they still own the Cardinals, but it was once upon a time that they really weren't trying to win when they I think maybe back in the maybe early 2000s or something like that. They really were just trying to, get money. They was high priced people. They was getting rid of them, and they were just trying to make money. But then somehow, towards the middle of the 2000s, that sort of changed, and they started, getting on board doing some other things. But every team on paper, or at least they try to make you think that they're trying to win. And so they put together a plan, a strategy into action, whereas they try to accomplish this goal of win as many games as you can. At some point, if you're a bad team, you're trying to first thing to get towards respectability. And then from that point, you win. It's okay, now we can be a winning team. And then from that point, hey, can we be a playoff team? Can we be a playoff contender? And then from that point, can we be a championship contender? There's steps to this thing, right? So we know it's a lot of teams in the off season, for one reason or another, got rid of their coaches. And so we're gonna go down the list of teams that have made, through a lot of interviews and things of that nature, they have hired coaches. So first of all, let's look at this. Let's look at it. We're going to start with the LA Chargers. We know the LA Chargers had Brandon Staley for about 4 years. Used to be the defensive coordinator of the LA Rams. Took over from what's the guy's name? I can't think what his name is. He was like the offensive running backs coach for the Minnesota Vikings, I think. I can't think what his name was, but he took over for him. And he had some promise. They drafted Justin Herbert, but they never could get things going. And he's kind of a risk taker, and kind of at the wrong times, and it kind of messed their offenses up. So, and then they don't even have a playoff win. I think they went to the playoff last year, had a 27-0 lead, and lost that to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then I believe the defensive coordinator may have gotten fired, and I think the offensive coordinator might have gotten fired, if I'm not mistaken. And I think Brandon Staley took over the defensive play calling, and then they hired our own Kellen Moore to run the offense this year. Well, we know what happened. I think they went 5-12, and they didn't make the playoffs, so they cleaned house. Head coach, GM, Tom Telesco, they fired everybody. Brandon Staley fired everybody. So we hear on like Wednesday that they have hired Jim Harbaugh, fresh off his national championship at Michigan. He takes over the LA Chargers, and we'll see what he does there. So the Chargers, we know they have been Dan Quinn is a guy that they have been looking at, as well as a few others. But they have decided on Jim Harbaugh, who's been in the NFL before, turned the San Francisco 49ers around from a 3-13 team and took them to the Super Bowl in a couple of years, made Stanford a winner. Stanford is a program that always have had problems in terms of because you can't field a good team because you got academic standards and stuff. So he turned them around and took that to San Francisco and kind of turned that around, took that to Michigan, and had some bumpy rides there for a little while. But then after a while, I think this may be the third year in a row he's beaten Ohio State. And he was able to get the crown this year and win the national championship. So he struck while the iron's hot. He takes over the San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers, a team with a lot of talent, both offensively and defensively. Not sure what they're going to do with Kellen Moore, but he takes over there. So Jim Harbaugh takes over the Chargers. The Atlanta Falcons, who had looked at Bill Belichick a couple of times, had looked at Raheem Morris, had looked at a couple of other guys. I think they looked at Ben Johnson, and they decided on Raheem Morris, who was the defensive coordinator of the LA Rams. And if you know the LA Rams, he had turned the LA Rams into a pretty solid defensive unit, a team that didn't have a lot of talent on the defensive end, especially in the secondary. They got a lot of talent up front, with Aaron Aaron Donald and Byron Young and Hoyt. I think that's his name, Michael Hoyt. They got some talent up front, but he was pretty good with that. And then he was actually show you how things kind of cyclical. Raheem Morris was actually the interim coach when Dan Quinn. You see how this thing cyclical? When Dan Quinn got fired in 2020, Raheem Morris was the guy that took over that team, and they went 4-7. They kind of did kind of okay. And then, of course, they ended up hiring Adam Smith. Is it Adam Smith? It's one of them Smiths, but the guy they just fired. And so Raheem Morris has some history with that franchise, and so he takes over. It's reported that Bill Belichick kind of came in with a pompous attitude, hey, I know you guys, and was talking kind of in a way to what's the guy's name that owns the guy that owns Home Depot. Can't think of his name right now off the top of my head, but anyway, kind of talking in a way that was like you not like you're above this job and really you guys need to hire me because and then talking about guys he wouldn't take and guys that sort of thing. Dude, you trying to get a job. This is not a place you've been there 24 years. You come in there fresh off the street and they don't care. I mean, they care about what you did in New England, but what you did in New England don't register there. You don't have no carte blanche there. And so, it is what it is. But they hired Raheem Morris and to take over there. So we'll see what happens there. Now the Carolina Panthers, which I thought was going to be the hardest job to field because of the owner. He had become kind of a sort of a cancer when you start hearing stuff that's going on behind the scenes. They're kind of being overly involved in the processes. Being ultra aggressive with the coordinators and the coaches, having spats with Frank Reich, who was the coach. Dave Tepper, that's his name. I was having a problem recalling his name. Dave Tepper. And then reportedly threw a drink in a heckling fan's face or something. Come on, dude, you worth billions of dollars. You can't be doing that kind of stuff. So I thought this might be the hardest job to get or to get a person to take that job. They ended up hiring Dave Canales, who was the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He took over for Byron Leftwich, who was fired after last year. He had been the Seattle Seahawks quarterbacks coach and helped kind of resurge Geno Smith into MVP, consideration last year. And then this year he did some marvelous things with Baker Mayfield, and how that's cyclical is Baker Mayfield used to be the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers last year, and they had like the worst quarterback production last year, according to some metrics. So he takes over there, Dave Canales. He takes over there at the Carolina Panthers. And so you go down to the Tennessee Titans. I know they interviewed Dan Quinn. They interviewed a few other people. And then they decided on, surprisingly, Brian Callahan, who was the offensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, as Cowboy fans, if the name Callahan sounds familiar, it's because he is the son of Bill Callahan, who used to be our offensive line coach back in 2014. He was also the offensive coordinator for the Oakland Raiders back in I want to say it was like 2001, and then when I can't think of his name, left them and went to coach the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He took over as head coach and took them to the Super Bowl. And then, of course, they, after that year, he got fired, and then he bounced around and he came to the Cowboys' offensive line. He is a dang good offensive line coach. Wonder if he's still looking for work. because I'd like to hire Brian Callahan, take over, not Brian, but Bill Callahan to take over. I don't know how, he's a little older now. I'd love for him to take over our offensive line right now. But Brian Callahan has done some wondrous things with the Cincinnati Bengals offense with Joe Burrow. So he takes over for the Tennessee Titans, succeeding Mike Vrabel. Okay, and of course, the Raiders, took some head coaching interviews from some people, but ended up keeping the guy that was on the interim basis, learning from their mistakes of the past. Though they were supposed to have hired the special teams guy from last time they had a coaching vacancy, and he took them to the playoffs. Rich Bisaccia, me and names, they come with me and they go away. Rich Bisaccia, and then all the players wanted him, but they wanted to go and get, the guy from New England. They wanted to go get him because he had pedigree and he was a name, and he came and ruined the thing. So this time when they got rid of him, they hired an interim coach, and then of course now Max Crosby said, dude, if you don't hire him, man, you just let me walk. My contract come up, I'm leaving you guys, because they like this guy, Antonio Pierce. So they hired Antonio Pierce, and I'm happy for him to get in that job, and we'll see what happens with that. And they hired his GM, Tom Telesco, who we just talked about, who was the GM of the Chargers. So he just slides right down the highway there from Las Vegas to from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, from the Chargers to the Raiders. So New England, we know they hired from within. They hired Gerard Mayo, who used to played for them, was on the coaching staff. I remember when he played at Tennessee. That's how long ago. I remember before he's even been in the NFL. So that's how long I go back. But they hired him. And so those are the jobs that have made hires right now. Now the jobs that are still open, the Washington Commanders, they're still looking at guys. They're looking at Ben Johnson. They're looking at Dan Quinn as among some others. I think they're looking at Bill Belichick as well. The Seattle Seahawks, they're still looking but the notable coaches that are still available: Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson. I got an asterisk by that because I'll tell you why in here just a second. And Dan Quinn. Okay. And it's believed that Dan Quinn's having a second interview with them. So it's possible that he will go and be hired there. And it's believed that he might hire Colin Kaepernick to be like the offensive coordinator. That's just a rumor. That's just a rumor. I don't know if that's what he's going to do or not. Whatever. Not him. I'm sorry. Not him. Not him. I got it mixed up. It's actually Jim Harbaugh that's going to hire Brian. It's believed he might hire Kaepernick because he played for him at San Francisco. So Dan Quinn, if he's hired, I think there was some other guys I had heard that he was talking about bringing on as offensive coordinator. He may bring on Kellen Moore as his offensive coordinator because the offensive coordinator that was at Seattle has left. Shane Waldron, he's now the offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears now. So they got an offensive coordinator position that's open. So he'll be able to do that. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm laying all that out because you see all these teams are moving and shaking and coaches are leaving and all this sorts of things. And even teams that aren't moving their head coaches, if they didn't get to where they were supposed to get to in their season, they're making changes. You don't think I know what I'm talking about? Let's look. Let's look at our most hated rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we might hate the Philadelphia Eagles because they hate us. We go back and forth with them. So any chance I get a chance to dig it into the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to, and they will to us. But I will tell you one thing. They are ran way better than the Cowboys are. Okay. We're going to talk about that too because Brian Broaddus is going to talk about that in his little rant that I led to you in my opening. But I'm going to tell you what the Eagles are there. First of all, last year they went to the Super Bowl. Okay, they made changes the year before. They went 9-8, went to the playoffs, lost in the first round, made some changes. Okay, got a bunch of free agents. Went and got AJ Brown. Went and got Hassan Reddick. Went and got James Bradbury, Darius Slay. I think may have came the year before. And that's made some changes, man. It's went and spent money. That's what teams do when they're trying to win, when they're just not trying to keep the status quo. If they're not just trying to, be comfortable, right? So last year, they parlayed that into going to the Super Bowl, right? Went all the way to the Super Bowl. But when you get to have success like that, people come calling for your coaches, just like people are calling for the successful coaches that this year. You notice all those guys that are losing coordinators this year. They're getting hired. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they won a playoff game this year. Dave Canales got a job, right? And all these other coaches, they got jobs. So last year when they got to the Super Bowl, Shane Steichen was a hot commodity around the NFL. A lot of teams wanted him. So he got a job with the Indianapolis Colts. That left a hole in their offensive coordinator position. Defensive coordinator. They had a good defense offseason. So Jonathan Gannon got a job with the Arizona Cardinals. So they had to move those. So they brought in new coordinators. They brought in Brian Johnson and they brought in Sean Desai as offensive and defensive coaches, respectively. Okay. Them guys did good for about a half a season. Then the bottom kind of fell out. They lost 6 of their last 7 games. Okay. But they still went to the playoffs, right? And they lost their first game. But you know what they did? They fired everybody. They got rid of the season had went so bad that they took Sean Desai and put him upstairs in the booth and took him from calling the defensive signals and brought in Matt Patricia as a consultant, who was a consultant, and had him calling plays. So you basically had that. So basically they got rid of Matt Patricia, got rid of Sean Desai, got rid of Brian Johnson. Okay. Because they weren't satisfied with the results of this year's season. So they made changes. Okay. All right. They made changes. Okay. Now, one of the changes that they're thinking about making this year, I'm going to tell you right now, they're thinking about bringing on Vic Fangio. We're going to talk about that in a minute, too. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. So they made changes, right? Because they weren't satisfied with what happened. Okay. But they ain't just the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. They ain't just the Philadelphia Eagles. The Miami Dolphins, was I just mentioned, had a good season. I think they went, 11-5, I think? 11-6. Hey, came, with some injuries, Bradley Chubb and Phillips and a few other defensive guys that kind of missed the last part of the season that hurt them in the last game. They could have really won their division, would have had a home game rather than have to play in sub-freezing temperatures in Kansas City. They had a good season, but apparently it wasn't good enough for the Miami Brass. They fired Vic Fangio, and some of the players was kind of like, yeah, because Vic Fangio seems to be a guy that the players didn't seem to get along with. But look, I don't care about that. I ain't got to play checkers or play cards with my head coach, as long as or my defensive coordinator, as long as he puts me in good situations. I don't understand these young kids because I think Ramsey and a couple of other dudes had put some stuff out on there, like maybe kick rocks. But I thought he had them in good positions, and so it is believed that he might be going to the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, and we're gonna talk about that here in a minute too. Okay, and so even them, even though they had success this year, it wasn't good enough. They're making changes, right? The Green Bay Packers had a good season, went 10-7, kicked our butts in the playoffs, right? Beat us 48-32, right? And then played a good game against the San Francisco 49ers. They were underdogs by 10 points. They lost by 4. Really could have won that game. Jordan Love threw a bad cross his body late and triple coverage pick late in the game that he shouldn't have thrown on first down when they had 2 timeouts. Okay, really could have won that game, right? But after they lost it, fired their defensive coordinator, Joe Barry. Okay, his defense was good enough to hold us in check, but they were like, hey, and they really should have been happy about where they found themselves. Being 10-7 and getting a playoff win. a team that nobody thought was even going to make the playoffs, but they fired their defensive coordinator. So they're looking to upgrade. Again, a team not satisfied with the results, even though their results were good. Okay? Now, let me tell you how this all works with us. The Philadelphia Eagles looking at getting Vic Fangio, the guy that supposedly has the Dak stopper or the blueprint on how to stop Dak Prescott. Okay? So you actually, and then rumor has it, now, y'all don't tell nobody now. This is rumor. This is rumor. The Washington Commanders are believed to be going to hire Ben Johnson, but they keep that on the low until the Detroit Lions finally lose. Okay, they're in the NFC Championship game this week. Okay, now just think about that. I want y'all to think about that as Cowboy fans. If Vic Fangio comes to join the Philadelphia Eagles as defensive coordinator, I also heard a rumor that they may tap Kellen Moore to be the offensive coordinator. That's just a rumor. I don't know how much there is to that. But the point is, and then if they get Ben Johnson, do you realize the coaching upgrade that's going on, what will have happened in our division? Okay. And you still want to run everything back with the same thing you got when everybody else is getting better. That's the thing that bothers me about the Cowboys. Okay. Everybody else is getting better. Heck, look no further than the Detroit Lions. 2 years ago, they had the number 2 pick in the entire draft. That's what allowed them to draft Aiden Hutchinson. Okay. Remember when we played them last year? They hadn't won a game. It was like game 7, 6 or 7. They hadn't won a game. Now, you know, they end up going, I think, 8-9 or 7-10 or 8-9, one of the two. So they won like 7 of their last like 8 games in the season or something like that. Because I think they won like 4 or 5 in a row after we beat them. We beat them, I think, 24-6 or something like that. They hadn't won a game. So even last year, they were still a bad team. Look where they're at right now. They're in the NFC Championship game. We are in the same place they were when we encountered them. They went from 0 to 60, and we're still at 45. Okay? We're not serious about winning. If they were, they would do different things. They would move differently. They would not be satisfied with winning 12 games and getting knocked out in the playoffs. Winning 12 games and winning the game and losing in the second round of play. Winning 12 games and losing in the first game of the playoffs. And then bringing everybody back. Okay? So these are the types of things I'm talking about. How serious are you about winning? You know, how serious are you about winning? Or are we just, going through the motions? Are we just trying to, or do we just want to do what's comfortable and what's convenient for us? We don't want to make the extra effort. You know how sometimes you want to, you're sitting on the couch and you really want to change the channel, but the remote control's way over there. You just sit there, I'll just watch this. And I don't feel like getting up, moving to go find the remote. That's pretty sorry, right? That's kind of how I feel the Cowboys. Like, yeah, I could do it, but you know what, man? I'm actually okay with this right here. We winning games, okay? We got a good enough roster assembled where if we don't have no upgrades at coaching, we can still win. You know, in the NFL season, you have 17 games. You'll have about 7 or 8 games against bad teams, 6 or 7, 8 games against good teams, and 1 or 2 games against teams on the same level as yours. You'll win 90% of the games is worse than yours. Win about 30, 40% of the games of the teams is better than you or equal to you. They'll put you around 10 wins a season, 11 wins a season, somewhere in there. That's kind of where we're at. But if you want to win continuously or consistently beat the good teams, you got to upgrade. You got to keep upgrading the coaching. You got to keep upgrading the roster. You can't just rely on just drafting guys and waiting for them to develop and making like. But don't believe me. If you don't believe me, listen to what Brian Broader says. Now I'll set this clip up, and now I hope at some point in my I'm hoping sometime in my when I'll be able to get my channel up and going like I want to, that I'll be able to just show you share screens and stuff like that with you and be able to upload videos and show you stuff like that. And at some point I'll be able to do that. But up until then, I'll just give you audio. If you don't believe me, listen to what Brian Broaddus said. Okay, Brian Broaddus is on 105.3 The Fan. He's really closely associated with the Cowboys. He's worked with the Cowboys, been in the Cowboys, been a scout for the Cowboys, did a lot of stuff for Jerry. And right now he speaks and reports on the Cowboys for Cowboys, DallasCowboys.com, which is still kind of like affiliated with the Cowboys. Now, he took some risks saying some of this stuff on this show they were talking about, and the show is entitled "Are the Cowboys All In?" Okay, that's a valid question. So the conversation was going on with him between him and like three other guys, and then at some point Brian was like, "Dadgummit, I got something to say." He didn't say that, but let me hear, and I hope you guys can hear this. I'm gonna let you hear what he said here. This is what Brian Broaddus. Okay, this is what he said.
Blame's going the wrong direction here myself. So it needs to be Steven. Steven needs to be in the blame. I think when you start to talk about when they don't want to change.
That's him right there.
They don't want Bill Belichick walking in here or Jim Harbaugh walking in here and saying, we need to do this differently personnel-wise. I don't like the way we're doing this personnel-wise. I don't like this. They don't want that. They don't want that. It's easy for them now. Mike's not going to get in their way about personnel. Mike's not going to get in their way and say, oh, well, like I want him to go in there and say, hey, we need to do something different here. He's not. He's not going to do it different. It's totally comfortable for the way that these guys operate now.
It is.
They don't have anybody questioning their personnel moves. They get to draft. They get to sign players, their own players. They don't do things that the guy in Philadelphia does or people who are fighting for their job. That's what this football team is.
Yeah.
They handed it off from a guy who used to do crazy-ass things. And I was part of the crazy-ass things he did.
Heck yeah, you were.
You know what? The crazy-ass... I almost said an S-word there. The crazy-ass stuff will get you fired. But he handed it off. And that's where we are now. That's where we are with this football team. They don't want to change because they can operate in the way that they're comfortable operating. That's the whole. Yeah. That's the problem, and it ain't Jerry. Jerry's just stepping back. He's 81 years old, but he still has all the titles and stuff. But he ain't in there rolling up his sleeves doing the nuts and bolts stuff. It's Stephen Jones doing this stuff.
Well, he's using his dad eyes instead of his businessman eyes. Okay, so that is Jerry's fault for not being objective about the crap job his son has done.
He's trying to handle
not teaching son how to be a badass.
Well, you said it earlier. Stephen Jones pinned his dad up against the wall one time.
He did.
I trust.
I think he did it again, and this time he finished.
And he hit some of that fire back.
He left with dad's cojones the last time he did it.
Well, they've got a general manager in place, and they've got a personnel director. Sorry, I'm not going to put you guys in this. I respect Will McClay.
Yeah.
I really
I do too.
I do too. And I think that there's some things that maybe Will would want to do differently, but he understands what they're up against. Yeah. But he does not want change. None of those guys want change.
All right. That's probably enough of that right there. That's courtesy of 105.3 The Fan. That's a real good show. You get a lot of good insight on what's going on with the Cowboys and their talking points. That's some good stuff right there. But anyway, if you ain't believing me, believe Brian Broaddus. Brian Broaddus, I've listened to a lot of stuff. I listened to a lot of articles, a lot of videos and stuff. He's on a lot of shows with a lot of cowboy content creators, the bigger ones, and he has little one-on-one sessions with them. He gives you some insight about. He used to be a scout. Okay, so he said I used to do some crazy stuff for Jerry. Jerry had to do some crazy stuff, but they don't do crazy stuff no more. He said because the crazy stuff gets you fired, and that he's basically saying really you need to look at Steven. You don't need to look at Jerry. Jerry's 81. I don't know if Jerry is senile and still has some, whatever going on, but he's turned over to Steven. And then many times I thought back in the day that we're not going to ever get anything with the Cowboys going the way the fans would where we could be proud of what we're doing until Jerry is either incapacitated or in the ground. I said, but now that we see Steven, it's like, he's completely, where Jerry used to take some chances, take some risks. Sometimes they were bad ones, giving up 2 first-round picks for Joey Galloway back in like 2000. Yeah, that's bad. Because the next year we needed a first-round pick and didn't have it. Giving up a couple of first-round picks or however it was for Roy Williams, not Roy Williams the safety, Roy Williams the wide receiver back in 2008. We didn't. The next year we didn't have a first-round pick, and it was a player we wanted we couldn't get because we'd given it up, and Roy Williams never really fit in here. You felt like with him and T.O. we would have a nice 1-2 tandem, but it never came together. It never really did. And then finally, the last thing I think Jerry kind of did was in 2018, he kind of gave up a number 1 draft pick for Amari Cooper. And so I think that number 1 pick that I think it was a pick that we gave them, and I think they ended up drafting Hunter Renfrow, I think, with that pick, or something like that, or something like that. That's what the picks kind of became. So that kind of was the last thing that we kind of did in that regard. But since then, it's a bunch of like low to middle kind of moves. I think people were kind of, they made mention on here that fans was kind of like on the edge last year. So that's why they made those 2 moves in the offseason, getting Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore for 5th-round picks and 6th-round picks. Which those were good moves. Don't get me wrong. Those were great moves, but those are kind of low risk moves. You didn't really, a 5th-round pick. Okay. We gave him a 5th-round pick for that. Okay. This year, who that 5th-round pick was? You know who that 5th-round pick was? I want to say that was, wasn't that, I want to say that was Eric Scott or Austin Richards. Okay. So that's what you picked. That's what you would have picked with those picks. Okay. So, and so like somebody made a comment on one of the shows that earlier in the season, last year, we could have made a move for Roquan Smith of the Chicago Bears, who was trying to get out from under him because they knew they was going to have to pay him. And I think the Bears got a 2nd and a 5th or a 2nd and a 3rd for him. A 2nd and a 4th or something for Roquan Smith. And of course, they ended up having to pay him, but, that's without saying. So essentially, we would have given up Luke Schoonmaker to get Roquan Smith. You ever seen what Roquan Smith is doing for Baltimore? Him and Patrick Queen? Okay. And then you looking at our team that don't even respect the linebacker position. And when you look at how our defense plays and don't seem to have and then how, I'm just saying we don't take risks. And so, and also, and I'm going to get to this thing that Nick Saban had said. I'm going to get to that here in a second. And then we're going to close the video out. One of the Cowboy creators, Landlord from Alabama, he did a study, and us content creators, when we one-man shows, it's tough, to go through and do all the research. That's the difference between us and then these guys on these 3- and 4-letter networks. They got staffs and research teams. Sometimes they can just think of something and somebody had that graphic up before they could finish their sentence. We don't have that kind of ability. Now, we can go and Google it while we're talking to you, because I got a computer right here, where I can do that. That's kind of what you got to do. But he went through in the last 10 years, 8 to 10 years, and he looked at, I think it may have been since 2000, maybe it's 20 years. And he looked at all of the moves that the winning organizations have made, the risks that they made in order to try to put themselves in position to win. And he said how they look, all the moves that they had, how they stacked up. And then like the very few moves, they said the only move we made since 2000, since 2002 or whenever it was the Roy Williams thing and the Joey Galloway thing and the Amari Cooper thing. And they was talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. They talked about the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay. He talked about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He talked about the LA Rams and the different other things that other organizations did in order to put themselves in position to win. Even a team like Buffalo, even though they haven't won, they went out and got a Stephon Diggs. They went out and got a Micah Hyde. They went out and got dudes, right? And they looked at how us as the Cowboys, the most valuable franchise in sports, worth 9, 10, 12, whatever matrix you want to look at, $1 billion. And we just meander through this thing, but he looked at all of that and he said, you look at how the Eagles, when they felt like, okay, we got a quarterback, let's make some moves and get him some help. Okay. You got Jalen Hurts, let's get him some help. He inherited a good offensive line because Lane Johnson was there, Travis Kelce was there. Jason Kelce is there, and they had a couple of offensive linemen. You had some good defensive guys there. You had Fletcher Cox. You had Javon Hargrave. You had those guys. You had Josh Sweat. You still had all those guys. So you had Miles Sanders. So you had good running back. You had some things. Okay. And it's like, okay, let's go. And so after the 2021 season, they went out and got a bunch of free agents. I talked about them earlier. Okay. How come the Cowboys after 2016, when they seen Dak Prescott, leading them to a 13-3 record, okay, why didn't they go and get some defensive guys? Why didn't they go get another wide receiver to help to go with Dez Bryant, who would only play for us one more season? Okay, after 2017, he didn't play for us anymore. Had an ACL, Achilles. After that, and then they let him go, and he really never played again. He was never really the same player again. He never really played for us. The 2017 season, Dak Prescott went into the season with Allen Hurns, Deontay Thompson, and Terrence Williams as wide receivers. Okay, those were the wide receivers he went in there with. Okay, and Dez Bryant was in and out of the lineup because he was hurt and different things. They didn't go and get him help. But other teams, why you got a guy on a rookie contract? Okay, they didn't do it. Okay, but you've seen as long as the Kansas City Chiefs have had Patrick Mahomes, they wouldn't gotten him Frank Clark, wouldn't have gotten him Chris Jones. Okay, went and got him Honey Badger. Okay, went and got him guys. Okay. And still went and drafted guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire and other guys. Went and got guys. Okay. And so, you look at the Rams. Rams went to the Super Bowl. And it's like, okay, well, we need to change quarterback. Went and got Matthew Stafford, but didn't stop there. Went and got Jalen Ramsey. Okay. Went and got Von Miller. Okay. Went and got OBJ. Okay. Went and got all these guys. Okay. And then gave up some picks. Okay. And what did they turn that into? It went to a Super Bowl and won it, okay? And didn't have first-round picks for a year or two. But you know what? 2 years after that, they was right back in the playoffs, okay? Did better than we did, okay? Because if you know what you're doing, you don't necessarily got to have a first-round pick. Because they took a fifth-round pick and it turned into Puka Nacua. Took a fourth-round pick and it turned into Kyron Williams, okay? Third-round pick and it turned into Byron Young. Okay, and they restocking because they got an eye for talent. Okay, so that's the thing. But they was willing to take chances. All right, so we're not making those kind of moves. Okay, we had 3 consecutive 12-win seasons, and we're staying right back with bring the same tired play calling, bringing the same players. Now, if they want to make some changes, maybe they're going to attack the free agency this time. We'll see. There's some good free agents. And then I think a video I'm going to do, I might come back tomorrow and do a video. Some of the free agents I'd like to see us go after. And we'll see. So because when March come around, that's going to be the thing, free agents, and see what kind of guys we're going to get. Because hopefully we'll get somebody in the running back room because I think we're going to, move some of the guys, both of the guys that's in our running back room. And then I think maybe linebackers, maybe somebody else, some receiver, and stuff like that. Those are the kind of things I think we should get. Maybe somebody on the defensive line. I still think we need defensive line help, and that sort of thing. We need big guys. Okay. Now, speaking of needing big guys, there was and this came courtesy of A to Z Sports, which I was watching tonight. Shout out to Mauricio Rodriguez, who does a great job on that. You can watch A to Z Sports. They have a morning show with William Skywalker Steele, and the evening show with Mauricio at night around 7:30, when they have a Cowboys report every day. So I happened to be listening to it tonight, and he alluded to this clip, which I didn't get this from him. I just went and found it on the internet. Okay, so listen to what Nick Saban says, talking about teams that play these cutesy pie defenses when teams have changed up the way that they're approaching the offense. And he's talking about how he had to change some stuff in order to match up. So listen to what Nick says here.
They don't play nickel all the time. They don't play nickel against regular.
They nickel all the time.
Because people get regular and they try to make nickel formations.
Like us.
So they just say, well, we just play nickel all the time. Well, look, we played Notre Dame this year, and they played.
This is in 2021.
And people are still playing nickel, and they got 3 tight ends in the game. I mean, they aren't getting the line and kicked out their ass now, right? Because there's just no way that you can hold up against all the big guys.
Right.
Now, when we play them, I coached the Cleveland Browns when Irv Cross, Bavaro, and all these tight ends that the New York Giants had when Parcells was there. And I was coaching Belichick, and we used to practice against them, and they used to get 3 big guys, 270, 270, 280, and a 3-man wing, right? And Frank Minifield would be out there and run support. And Bill said, this is not going to work. And they said, tell me about it. So we matched personnel in the NFL. So if they got 3 tight ends, right, we had 3 DBs on the field. We put extra linebacker in the game, and we had a whole package of what we did. We called it Hippo. So we played Hippo against Notre Dame, and their 3 tight ends, they didn't make nothing. Because we had big guys against big guys. Now, I still think we could have played regular people against those big, and we still practice regular all the time. Because I fear playing against somebody who can run the ball, make it, and put a couple 3 tight ends in the game, and you don't have a regular package or a big people package that you can play. I've always, you got to be able to match personnel. You can't say, I'm going to be simple and we're going to play nickel against everything. That's just me.
Now, don't take that from me, Crook Keeper. I see you, man. I didn't want to interrupt Nick. He was talking. Nick talking, man. I'm being quiet. I'm not gonna say nothing while Nick talking. Yeah, I'm still up because I just got off work a little while ago because I work nights. That's why when I was doing my videos, Crook Keeper, we was off all last week because we had snow and ice and stuff. So I was off. I ain't never been off an entire week in my life. I don't think. I can't remember the last time I've taken 5 days off in my life. Usually I would take like 2 or 3 days around, sandwiches around the weekend, and make it a 5-day like that. But I was off for 5 days, so I'm like, shoot, I'm gonna make some videos since I got time. I got time on my hand. I usually get off around 11:30. It takes me to midnight to get home. It takes me time to kind of like put my stuff together and kind of put together what I want to do. So usually I don't get on to like 12:30, 1 o'clock. So that's why I'm on now, and I'm about to try to get off. But man, you still up? Yeah, I'm wired up, man. I'm going to go and watch some basketball games. There's a basketball game, my thing recorded. I'm going to watch some of that here in a little bit. And then I'll probably go to bed about, what is it here? Probably go to bed in about 35, 40 minutes or something like that. But yeah, I'm just talking about, evidence. You go back and watch and look at the videos that I loaded about Brian Broaddus talking about how the Cowboys aren't serious. they won't go all in because they're complacent and they're comfortable. And then we're talking about, how we've been complaining about Dan Quinn and his, like, no matter what the defense is showing us, we're going out there with nickel and dime packages. Nick Saban was just telling you, he made this video in 2021 when they won national championship in January 2021 over Ohio State. But the semifinal game leading up to that, they played Notre Dame. That's what he was talking about. It wasn't the first or the worst. That this year wasn't the first or the worst. Okay. But yeah, and so he was saying that Brian Kelly, who's the head coach of Notre Dame, he was running these big 3, 2, and 3 tight end packages. And he said, well, a lot of teams just be lazy and just play nickel. And it's like, and that's what Dan Quinn's in. And not only are we just being lazy, we ain't gonna put nothing out there but nickel and get rid of everything else. So that's all you can play is nickel. And then when teams go to these big packages, you can't match up because just like he was saying when he was coaching for the Cleveland Browns and he was coaching against Belichick, but coaching with Belichick, he said he coaching against Parcells. He was saying they would have these 3 tight end packages, and you got these 3, 4, 4 and 5 corners. You got Frank Menifee, who's a cornerback, trying to run support against a 280-pound tight end. You're gonna get slammed. Doesn't that look just like Marquise Bell trying to run fit and getting pushed around? He said, but you gotta match personnel. You gotta match personnel. That's just, he's not even coaching in the NFL, not now, but even in college. He said, yeah, you gotta match personnel. They got a big package. He said they went to a hippo package. We ain't got no hippo package. So, that just shows you. And then, of course, if Dan Quinn don't get that Seattle Seahawks job, he's going to be right back with us. He's going to be right back with us. Yeah, I believe it. I don't believe it on one hand, Crypt Keeper, but I don't believe it on the other hand because I think he's got so much goodwill in the bank. I think he's done so much good things in terms of coaching, but I think he has a level. You guys remember me talking about the hubris? That means you believe in your own press clippings. You think you believe in your own. You kind of get drunk off your own genius. I think Belichick is sort of that way too, because how else can you explain him giving Joe Judge and Matt Patricia offensive coordinator positions? Guys that have never called an offensive play in their lives. I think they kind of single-handedly ruined Mac Jones. And that's kind of sensitive to me because I like Mac Jones. Mac Jones coached was the last quarterback to win my Crimson Tide their last championship, man. So he holds a special place right here for me, even though you might not like him or think he might be dirty or whatever. I like Mac Jones, and I think those guys have ruined him. And with their, I know more than you do. I'm climbing the ladder backwards, even though it don't make sense. I'm smarter than y'all, and I think it's, you guys doing it the conventional way. I'm gonna climb the ladder backwards. The ladder's got those little things on the side, when you open it up, that let you know which side you're supposed to climb up on. Then it even has a little ledge where you can set your tools on it. Sometimes I do stuff from the house, so I'm climbing ladders. Well, the ladder has rungs on both sides. And, Belichick said, I'm so smart, I'm climbing the ladder backwards on the backside. There's a reason why those rungs are smaller and don't have the grips on them that the ones on the front have, because you ain't supposed to do it that way. Okay. So yeah, he thought he was smarter than everybody else by putting Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, two doofuses in the coaching ranks, and had them calling plays for Mac Jones. So yeah. And I think I had read somewhere that he went in to the Atlanta Falcons interviews kind of like puffing his chest out, kind of, And so they went with Raheem Morris. I don't think Raheem Morris can hold Bill Belichick's jock, but sometimes it's a way you go about things. Sometimes it's a way you go about things, Crypt Keeper, and any other guys that's watching me this late. Sometimes it ain't what you do, it's how you go about doing it. And if you go into the thing making it feel like you're doing us a favor by coming to work for us, might not take you as I might, even though you might be the best dude for the job. If you come into the thing acting like that we owe you a favor or you doing us a favor, yeah, I might take the humbler guy than the hungrier guy. I might take him. Who is Belichick without Brady? I think he's a good defensive coach. Might have won 1 Super Bowl, maybe 2, and I might be stretching it. But Belichick took him over the edge and made him where he can win like more than anybody else, because that allowed him to not have to worry about offense because you had Brady. The defense, we're gonna do our part, but he's proven that he don't know offense. So if you got Brady, you ain't got to worry about that. So that's the thing. So yeah, he is probably a one-trick, 1 Super Bowl winning coordinator, coach without Brady. Brady gives him good defensive coach, smart quarterback, just like a offensive coordinator himself. Almost like a match made in heaven. Almost like having Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They kind of need each other, and one, it's just that how it works seamlessly with them. They work on opposite sides of the ball. So that's just kind of. But for all you people to think that players don't need good coaches or good systems or good structure, you kind of do. It just enhances. It just enhances what you're already good at. Like, I think if Patrick Mahomes had some other coach other than Reid, he'd still be good. But Reid just gets you in such great plays, man. I don't know, man. It's just certain things he calls. It's like, you ain't even got to be your best player that day. You ain't even got to be your best that day. And he's going to get you into a great play, and you can win the game. And then it works the other way. If your play calling ain't good, Patrick will just make a play, pull a play out of his backside, and win you, win you a game. So it's like a match made in heaven. The coaching and the play, they kind of like that. He don't know how to draft players, and I think Crypt Keeper. I think that was the thing that was the holdup, because I think he was insistent about, like, he knew what he was doing about acquiring players, and then you see, like, most of the players he acquired were like players that really kind of overachieved, like Julian Edelman. Them wasn't guys he drafted. What's the other receiver he got that the Colts ended up, not the Colts, but the Broncos ended up getting, and then you end up, getting falling into Randy Moss, and that sort of thing, and stuff like that. And, they did draft Gronkowski. That might be the one player he drafted that might be, and he did draft Brady. I will give him that. But no, he's not really good at drafting offensive players or running the offense. I think McDaniel kind of helped him out a lot under Belichick's umbrella. But we see that McDaniel by himself can't coach, don't know how to relate to people, because basically you do know that being a head coach it's a relationship business. You got to be able to relate to the players. You got to be able to, that's a science to that. There's a science to being able to relate to the players. And if you read the press clippings from the Raiders, man, it's like he rubbed all them players the wrong way. Wes Welker, yeah, that's who I was talking about. I couldn't think of his name. Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola. These were dudes that was like overachievers. Most of them dudes were quarterbacks. I think Wes Welker and Julian Edelman used to be quarterbacks. And that, other teams drafted them, and he just took them in there, polished them off, and they, and Josh McDaniels put them in an offense, and they worked, man, and he just handled the defense. Is that what Bill Belichick says? Players wouldn't get coached? That's probably true. That's probably true. Coaches can keep you in games, but they can lose them by doing stupid stuff. Like I believe Kyle Shanahan lost the Atlanta Falcons that Super Bowl back in 2016, 2017. Coaching can lose you games. You can blame Matt Ryan all you want to, but Kyle Shanahan called that 3rd and 1 pass play that got him sacked and knocked him out of field goal range. What if they had just ran the ball, even if they don't get the first down, they kick the field goal, they win the game. Because they would have made it more than a 1-score game. So coaches can lose games. Okay. Chris Hogan, that's another one. That dude not making no all-star games, all-pro games, none of that stuff. So it's guys like that they have. But anyway, man, y'all go back and look at those clips that I dropped, that I gave you the audio to, and see what you think about Brian Broaddus going off on the Cowboys front office. I mean, there was more to that, but I didn't know if it was copyright stuff. I only played like a minute of that, so I didn't want to get in no trouble. And then the thing with Nick Saban, about matching personnel. It just lets you know that we doing the same things over and over again. We doing dumb things over and over again. We're doing comfortable things over and over again because it's comfortable. Okay. And we're afraid to make a change. And just like Brian Broaddus said, he don't want nobody talking about Steven, don't want nobody coming in and saying, hey, that doesn't work. We don't do that now. And the thing that bothered me, and I was thinking about this as I was driving home, Crypt Keeper, for an organization that's 9, 10, I don't know what measuring system you're looking at, $11 billion operation, you would think we would be more forward thinking in our approach to things. You would think that we would be more state of the art, more proactive, more problem solving, more in our approach. But it seems as though our approach to our problems is like we're doing it with an adding machine. It's like, there's better, more efficient, there's smarter, more innovative ways to do everything, and we're content to do it with an ad machine. And I think we're, as Cowboy fans, I think the content creators, because that's been the theme of all the Cowboy content creators, and I advise you to go listen to them, go subscribe to some of them, because they give you some insight that the 4-letter networks don't have, but they're starting a grassroots thing with, look, man, it's fans, because they're all fans too, just like we are. We're tired of it, man, and they're putting them on notice, man. You're not serving us. You're not going to serve us this same tired stuff, the same tired coaching, the same tired philosophy, the same tired not willing to take any chances in free agency, not willing to take any chances in trades, not willing to and just go with the same thing every year. Because something that, and maybe people have maybe not have thought about this. This is something Landlord, content creator, said. We may not look at it this way, but in many ways, them being ultra conservative, you're kind of wasting a lot of guys' careers. Guys that probably could have had opportunities at winning championships. I think about guys like Tony Romo that you didn't think smart enough to put offensive line and defensive players around him and balance the offense, where when he was in his prime, he could have won us some Super Bowls. Same thing with DeMarcus Ware. You didn't put, you didn't fortify, you didn't take chances. You didn't put other good players around him where he had to go to Denver to win a Super Bowl, And then you're looking at the early career of Dak. We've had some teams, but you didn't take enough chances to put enough players around them where, we got a good enough team and we got a couple more players. We had a good enough coach. We might could have won some playoff games. And these guys, a guy like Jason Witten played all of his career. Would he win? 1 playoff game? 2 playoff games? And you kind of end up wasting these guys' careers. But nobody looks at it like that. You earn money, but a lot of these guys want to win. They don't want to just play just play the schedule and go home. They want to win. And when you don't put them in optimum positions, you take a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, he probably will never win a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott probably maybe he'll never win a Super Bowl, and all these other guys, back up Micah Parsons might never, you'll go through these guys' prime years. A guy like DeMarcus Lawrence, who's been here like 8-9 years now, 10 years or so now. Guy like Tyron Smith, you kind of wasting these guys' careers when you don't, you want them guys to, enjoy their playing it, because when you're just playing every year and then you don't win it all, it's sort of like, we're just going through the motions, man. Every year, man, we know we're not going to win. We're just going to play the games, And so it's sort of sad when you think of it like that. It's sad. It's really sad. But nobody looks at it like you're wasting the guy's career, because if you feel like they're making money, so they're fine. But a lot of guys ain't just in it for the money. A lot of guys, really, it matters to them whether they win or lose, right? So, but anyway, man, that's all I got tonight, man. It's a little over an hour. it went a little longer. I had some guys coming on late to talk to me, and I really appreciate that, man. But when I work, this would be the times I will come on about now and do my videos and stuff. And I'll go to bed around 3 or something, and I'll wake up around 11 or 12 tomorrow, and whatever, and then we'll get ready for work and do some things around the house. So that's kind of where my day in the life of Uncle Fred is. So this is when I do my videos. So I will say this, the NFC Championship games are this weekend. You got the Chiefs at the Baltimore Ravens, and you got the Detroit Lions at the San Francisco 49ers. So those are going to be big games. I'm not going to, I got my picks that I'm going to do, but I'm going to do them. I want you guys, I'm going to do a plug, Saturday. I think some of you guys was on our show Saturday with me and my cousin TK. Well, yeah, I didn't tell y'all that is my cousin. We kind of like my son. I kind of help raise him, but that's neither here nor there. But we do a show, and we do our Pick'em show. So it's going to be Saturday about 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll come on. So I would love it if you guys would join us and pick with us and see what you guys think, how this thing's going to go on Saturday about the game. And then, of course, after that, we'll probably do something the next week, because there's 2 weeks between that and the Super Bowl. And, that'll be the end. I'll probably do a video here and there, because I want to try to keep this listenership and viewership up. But it's a little tough because it's off season, and it's really, like I said, I might do a spotlight on a player or something like that. Or I think I had some ideas where I might do, because we got some decisions we got to make, both in-house and out-of-house, meaning like some free agents. We got decisions to make on whether to keep or discard. I might do a video on that and if I get an audience like, hey, are these guys who you want to keep, who you want to get rid of? And then we do maybe a position by position group of guys that we might like to see the Cowboys pick up in the offseason, although we know they're not going to get none of them. And then we may do a show on that. But it's so you're already telling us what you think is going to happen. We'll see. I'm not going to give you my pick until Saturday, Crypt Keeper. I'm not giving you my pick till Saturday. So you'll have to tune in Saturday to see what Uncle Fred's thinking. You have to tune in Saturday, see what Uncle Fred's thinking. Me and TK, see what we're thinking. I hate it. He went 4-0 and I missed the game. I was mad too. I like Kansas City, but I like my picks to be right. And I picked Buffalo, and they kind of left me looking crazy. So it's what it is, man. So anyway, man, y'all like, comment, subscribe, become a part of the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. I'm going to go watch the little game, maybe catch me a little snack, and then I might get me a little sleep, and then, we'll see what happens. And I might be on tomorrow night. I might not. We'll see. But definitely I'll be on Saturday. So y'all look for that, man. But like I said, man, watch the video. Go back and watch the video. Look at the 2 links I put out there. And then make some comments if you like and whatever. And share this with some other folks, man. Just good, honest, earnest cowboy talk, We talk about the NFL as a whole, but then we make it relate to how the Cowboys need to operate. You know, it all funnels back to the Cowboys. Okay, all funnels back to Dallas. Okay, always has and always will. Always got to be about Dallas. Okay, but that's all I got, man. I'll catch you guys on the next video, man. God bless. Happy night, man. All right, Crypt Keeper. See you guys next time.